Hello and welcome to For Fox's Sake. My name is Pete Selby and welcome to the big show. It is the big show after a huge performance at the weekend by Preston North End. Not Leicester, of course, but never mind. We have James, we have Sam, and we have Jono along for the party for the next half an hour. If you're watching, a big hello on YouTube. If you're listening via Apple or via Spotify, that's great. Do go over to YouTube, check out the new InVision, the big show. Also, you've got the FPL show, the champion show, and the preview later this week. It's For Fox's Sake, but now InVision. And if you haven't subscribed, do so. It's completely free on YouTube. Do make sure you click subscribe. So however you're watching or listening, a very, very good afternoon, good morning, good night, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. We're talking all things Leicester and the absolute travesty of a terrible performance, terrible result against Preston. We're all fully bullish on the preview with Rob Hayes. Great to have Rob back on the podcast. If you haven't listened to the preview, do so. It was really good. But yeah, we were quite bullish on the preview and it didn't quite work out at all. Lots to digest. There's lots of breaking news as well. It looks like that El Khann-snoozzze's move to Palace may well go through if they choose to go for the Moroccan rather than down the Tyler Dibbling route at Southampton. He may go elsewhere. Who knows? But it could be around 32 million. Because we need the money, because we need players and we need to get rid of players. So it's kind of fast forward 6 or 7 days, but we're 12 days away now from the end of the transfer window. And we do have games to play before the end of the transfer window. And it's a case really at Leicester for me that I think we just need to try and get as many points before the end of the window, because then we're going to have a completely different side. Players are going to leave, fingers crossed. Players are going to join, double fingers crossed. But it's all very well wanting players to leave, James, but we need certain players to leave because it just doesn't seem that they want to be here. And now we've mentioned on the podcast for years, this is our 12th season doing For Fox's Sake, and we can misinterpret a player leaving the pitch early, not waving to the fans or applauding the fans. We can misinterpret a player doing just that, and we think, oh, what a good egg they are. Turns out they might not be. You can read an awful lot into a small amount of what you see a player, because at the end of the day, you only see them for the warm-up, the game, and then a little bit after. There's also posts on social media as well. What does that mean? Do they follow a certain club? Have they taken that away? There's all sorts to kind of digest for us fans, and that's what we're here to do. It's all a bit of a mess, James, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you all laughed at me when I said we might struggle if we get the points reduction. You know, I think I'm coming good now. Not that I want to, but yeah,
well, it's a bit early. Don't blow your own trumpet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
don't organise the parade just yet. Let's just rein the horses back in. We still got a chance of doing something. It's only second game.
I think what's interesting, if you look at the two performances stats wise, they're basically the complete opposite of each other. So against Wednesday, our XG was 2.5 and our XG against was 0.6. Against Preston, Preston's XG was 2.5 and our XG was 0.9. So they're basically just opposite performances. I mean, we've played 3 games. We've scored 5 goals. None have been scored by a striker, unless you count Monger as a striker.
Because we haven't got any.
Probably more of a midfielder. So I think the 3 games show that we need a recognised championship striker. Unfortunately or fortunately, the only one that we're really linked with any possibility is João Rego. Apologies to any Portuguese people listening if I just butchered that pronunciation. And he seems like, from what I've been reading today, very highly rated, played at Portuguese under 19 and I think under 21 level. He hasn't scored a goal in a top level league. He scored 4 in 30, 4 in 19 or 4 in something for Benfica B. So that's like second, third division Portuguese football. I mean, he's only 20, so that's not necessarily surprising. But it's a big thing to bank on, this idea that we're going to bring in a 20-year-old Portuguese striker to come and play championship football. We need...
Thing is, We do. We need these players, don't we, James? That's the thing. Like, we haven't got any. I
It's a
said that we
risk,
haven't got any
though.
strikers. It's a risk, but we haven't got anyone up front. I mean, the number 9, Jordan Ayew, we know what he's capable of. He will score goals, and he's a good egg in the league. But he's not a leading line. He's not a 20-goal striker in the league, is he? Patson Daka's not going to cut it. And I watched the game between Ipswich and Southampton. I think we all know I do some work for Southampton, some commentary work. And you looked at Hurst up front for Ipswich, and you thought, well, there's a leading line striker, pretty quick. He's actually a lot quicker than I remember. Can hold the ball up, good control, can score goals. And then you've got the players off him. And then you look at, say, a Southampton. It's a completely different striker with Armstrong. But again, he's that kind of busybody, a bit more like a Vardy, a bit smaller. And you just look and go, my God alive. Like, we have got nothing for which we will then be able to play our better players off either side, really, do we? And it's just it's getting towards the stage where I'm like, it's almost criminal. Jono, welcome to the big show. Go on, what do you reckon?
Well, going back to what you were saying, James, about it's a gamble to sign a 20-year-old that hasn't played any league games. I think it's a gamble not to sign anyone at all, frankly.
Well, we should definitely sign him, but we need someone who has played top-level football, I think.
What you're saying is that you need an established number 9 that can go straight in and do the business straight away, and I think you're right. However, I'm not against the idea of following the model of signing young, hungry players that want to prove themselves. I think if you look at Munger as an example, he's only 16, but he's of that mold. So, if they're good enough, it doesn't matter how old they are, they can go in and get a job done. So I think if we are looking at players, I didn't even know about that until you've mentioned it about this Portuguese lad. I'm more than I'm absolutely gasping at the bit to for them to be making some sort of signings, because we all know how stale the club is, and we just need new faces and a new attitude drummed into the side, and that's not going to happen with some of the old deadwood that we've still got at the club that continue to underperform for us. So, yeah, we need players out, as you said, Pete. We all know who they are, and we need a striker in and a centre midfield, and we need the spine of the team. Essentially, we need a player in each position: a centre midfield, central defender, and desperately need a striker. That would be my shopping list.
We need them. Like we as supporters need them. But the one person who really needs it is Muddy. I've got to work on that. That's my Back to the Future. So I'm still going with it. I am still going with it. It's going to get better. But he really does. Muddy. He needs some new players, because when you come into a new club as a manager, first thing you do, and everyone says it, you go, well, the slate has been wiped clean. Doesn't matter what's happened in the past. Everyone can turn over a new leaf, etc., etc. And it's the best thing to do. It's the only thing you can do, really. But there does come a point where you do look at a side, you do look at certain players, and you go, they need to go. And we knew it was going to be a late decision in the transfer window, because it always is, Sam, with Leicester. Anyway, let's get that right. But we've been relegated since, November, essentially, from the Premier League. But we have got to the stage now. We are 12 days away from the end of the window, 12, 11 days. I generally at FFS Pod on X on Twitter, I tried to count down how many days it was. I struggled earlier. I don't know why, but that's just an off by. That's just me being an idiot. But I think we're 12 days away from the end of the window. And yet I know with financial restraints, we haven't signed anyone apart from a goalkeeper we don't have to pay because he's getting his pension. But it's terrible to get into that stage where we can't get rid of players. I'm not talking about the players who would go for free because they're on a big contract, but other players in the squad that they haven't let go to bring in something that we can use. Now, obviously, if we do let go with an Khann-snoozzze, then we will have money to spend. Fingers crossed. But really, the manager just has his hands tied behind his back, because we need to play the players like Khann-snoozzze, because we need to advertise their ability, and also they are the best players in the club. We've all kind of agreed that if they're there, then play them. I think that maybe has to be, you might have to kind of rein that back in now, because even though that they are the best players in those positions. If they don't want to be there, actually, I think it's probably best if they are cast aside. And I don't put Bilal El-Khannouzze in that category. He was taken off for one reason or another. I don't think he downed tools somewhat. I don't think other players kind of did. But if you're not playing at 100% in a game of football, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to get caught out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a minute for Harry Winks. We've been quite bullish on him starting the last couple of episodes of the pod. And sure enough, he started. And wow, he didn't really pull up any trees, did he? And then, I think you alluded in the intro to him sort of marching off the pitch instead of clapping the crowd. And I think he's been linked with Sunderland. That's going to be quite a commute for him from London. I mean, as important as he is to our team, and he is, he's the only sort of quarterback role that we really have that I'd trust on the ball to come and get the ball and then pass it forwards. If he doesn't want to be there and he's not going to play well, and he's going to go anyway, I think, and the same with other players on the way out. Marty's got to learn. I mean, he's 3 games in the job, 2 in the league at the minute, with a bit of a preseason behind him. He's still, I'm sure, figuring out what his best 11 are. And if he figures out what his best 11 are and it includes players that aren't going to be there in a fortnight's time, then I'm not really sure how much he's learned, how useful that's going to be to him. And I agree with you, Pete. I think, even if these players are our best players, I think we're at a stage with a new manager where he's got to figure out how to make the most out of his squad. And if that involves leaving out players who aren't going to be in the Leicester shirt in 2 weeks, then maybe so be it.
Yeah, and James mentioned about 20-odd strikers from Portugal. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, we know he's from Spain, so it's not Portugal, but don't take it the wrong way, similar. And then you also have more than likely, I'd imagine, players that he's worked with before or links, etc. And you can kind of work through if we do sign players. We've got that there is a connection to the manager. Then you also have what I think is probably going to be the most important. That's loan signings. Which of the top 4 or 5 players from the Premier League who will be on loan to the Championship will Leicester get? Because it will be quite a popular club to come to. Will Leicester, because obviously the training, facilities, etc. And also the position of the club, with respective to the parent club. It's going to be a very, very attractive place to play. But we do need reinforcements. And if we bring in reinforcements, of course, that can do one of 2 things. It can refreshen the whole side, but also it can refreshen other players as well. It can refresh the likes of a Harry Winks. You bring in some young midfielders alongside him, and if he does stay and wants to stay, then all of a sudden that can maybe boost his performance. Walt Vass, we said as well on the last pod, say, look, if you want to stay, if you want to be here, be here. If you don't, then go. It's basically, it's do or die with him, and it's do or die with a few players. If you want to be here, then play. If you don't, then you have to go. Unfortunately, James, we've got 12 days before the end of the window, and we've got a few games to play. What would you do now? Would you be the person to actually play those players? Or if they're on an RM, would you say, actually, enough is enough? We're out of the cup, and we've lost away to Preston. We can't afford to carry you in games anymore. Do you think that the manager maybe should send a message to these players and go, look, sort yourself out. You're not going to play in this next game. Decide whether you want to be at the football club or not. And if you do, make that statement. Make the statement to the fans. Make the statement to us as a football club. And then you're back involved in the first team. But if there is question marks surrounding your future, and your future because of your own thoughts and your own wanting to be possibly away from the football club, then for now, we got to take you out of the first team picture because it's damaging our start to the season.
Yeah, I think a lot of that would probably come down to how well are they training, which only Marty will know. I mean, what day are we? Wednesday. If for whatever reason, El-Khannouzze and Fatawu, I mean, I think we're holding out for about 35 million for Fatawu. So that's 40 million euros, which Sunderland haven't met yet. if they're both still here by Saturday, I think you could make a really good case for not playing them. And I think, like as Sam was mentioning, it's not even that he doesn't know what his best team is yet, which I imagine lots of managers in the league won't know because things change when you actually start playing proper games. He doesn't know what his squad is going to be. And that's a really difficult position to be in. Now, he must have known this when he took the job. And I imagine he was told by Rudkin and Whelan. I'm actually quite nervous because I actually don't think we're going to sign that many players. I think we're actually going to struggle to get people in, not necessarily because they don't want to come, although I can kind of understand maybe why they wouldn't, given the difficulties around the club, both on and off the pitch. But I just think, can we actually spend this money? Like, do we actually have the institutional ability to spend this money, or do we just have to keep it?
I mean, as much as I agree, I was saying at work today, actually, Jono, about Fatawu and the bid from Sunderland, the interest from the likes of Everton, and what someone just directly said, how much would you sell him for? And I said basically what James has said there. I said, well, if we sell El-Khannouzze, which looks like it's going to be the case, and then Fatawu, whatever we sell him for, we can invest in the squad. I actually think now I'm really kind of 50-50 because we know Fatawu can be the difference between winning games and not. But I think overall, if you were to get, let's just say you were to get £40 million for Fatawu, let's just say that's the case. And Leicester can spend all of it because they've sold El-Khannouzze and they've sold all the players, etc., Manson, etc. But would that be, how much would it be for you? I think for me, 35 to 40 million, if Leicester could then reinvest all of that into the squad, I think looking at the first few games or the last few games and what we need really in a squad and what we need in a forward line, I'll be very, very tempted.
I'm in two minds about that because look at our record on signing players over the last few seasons. If we were given 40 million quid to go out and spank in the best in about a week, have we got the targets? Have we got the processes in place to be able to get those deals done? I really doubt it. Look how slow we move in every regard as a club. We should have had the manager in place a lot sooner. It goes back years and years and years that we just move dreadfully slow in any transfer. We all know that players are leaving and players are coming in weeks before actually it gets confirmed. So I wouldn't want to sell El-Khannouzze and Fatawu in the same transfer window. I can see El-Khannouzze going based on his performance of the weekend. I think his head was turned and his head wasn't in the game, which is why he was bought off. I think he's a better player than what was shown at the weekend, and there's been a lot of chatter about El-Khannouzze can go, he's overrated. I don't think he is. If he stayed and his head was motivated, I think he would be an absolute asset for us in this league. But unfortunately, I don't see that. I think his head's been turned and he probably wants to go. And if that's the case, let's get him go. We haven't heard the same thing from Fatawu. I don't think he's that kind of player that would down tools. It seems he seems like a good character. And so if we can keep hold of him, I would want to keep hold of him. And I would want to spend some money. We've already brought in 30 million. If we're selling El-Khannouzze for another 30 odd million, that's 60 million pounds we brought in this window. Why the hell can't we spend at least half of that or a proportion of that, 20 million even, on signing other players that we desperately need? A striker, centre midfield and a centre back, in my view, what we need. So I would want to keep hold of Fatawu as much as we can. And I think the club are trying to do that by setting a high bar on the price. I'm gobsmacked, actually, that Premier League clubs are looking at him at 40 million because how much Premier League football has he actually played? How can we justify a fee of 40 million? So I'm hoping that puts them off and takes them elsewhere, any suitors for Fatawu. So that's my position. I don't want to sell either of them, but if one was to go, El-Khannouzze would be the one with a good fee and reinvest that money immediately. I have to ask the question, where's all the money gone? Frankly,
Well, PSR losses are 105 million over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So the money's
an issue, I granted, but maybe the wages are still stacked up. There's all these other players. Harry Souttar is a classic one for me. It's like, where's he gone? You know, he's just sort of sitting around earning his wage in the reserves or something. Why can't we get rid of players like that just bloating the squad? Why can't Rudkin get some deals done for players like that we know that aren't going to be first teamers and are just bloating the squad? You know, we could probably make 10 million on selling the all of those sort of players that don't really fit, you know, but we don't hear anything on that either. So it's really frustrating how slowly we move.
Jono, Harry Souttar was top of my mind as you were talking there, because when you were saying that we move really slowly, we do. When we're forced to move quickly because we lose a player we weren't expecting to lose or hadn't accounted to lose, that's how you end up with Harry Souttar.
Yeah.
Where they turn around in 5 minutes like, oh no, we need a centre half. Who's available? Yeah, he'll do.
Yeah.
And we've seen the results.
There's no strategy behind the recruitment. And that's why, go back to your question, Pete, about if we had 30 million to spend because we've sold Fatah or whatever, are we confident on that? No, I'm not, because I think we'll end up signing some awful players like, you know, we have in the past in a rush without any strategy behind it. And we'll end up with more of the same, frankly. So, yeah. That's me.
Well, this will make you feel better. I thought this was just completely off topic, but slightly interesting. Jason Bourne, former Radio Leicester producer, now head of football, I think, at TalkSport. Good egg, Jason. And I don't know whether you saw on X a little talk between himself and a couple of people when they were talking about when Brendan Rodgers wanted to refresh the squad, and then in the summer of 2022 they didn't really sign the players that he wanted, and they held it back, etc., etc. And the deals were in place for a few players, and the 3 players he says, if I remember at the time, the players were Brennan Johnson, Levi Colwill, and Ademola Lookman. The deals are already in place for.
I thought you were going to say Lookman. I mean, look at how much we, you know, if we bought Lookman at that moment in time, how much of a profit we have made on him. Probably sell him the next year, you know, with the form that he's shown elsewhere. We would have had a 40-50 million pound player on our hands, and we were probably due to sign him for about 10 million or something, wasn't it, at the time?
Exactly, and he just a lesser thing with Ademola Lookman. I thought he was fine that season, but also for what he's obviously gone on to have done. And I think there's only been about 10. It's a really good quiz question. We'll do it on the next. Don't look out for this, because we'll do this on the next big show or at some point. But I think there's only been about 15 in the history of L'Équipe, the French publication, to have got a 10 out of 10 rating for a game. So imagine how many games of football are being played, and the ratings are really harsh in L'Équipe. Only about 15 in the history of the publication have been given 10 out of 10, and the last one was in the Europa League final when Ademola Lookman scored a hat-trick. So just a little bit there. I'm just going to read you right now the Leicester City squad, right? Storacek in goal, Begovic, Walt Vass, Caleb Okoli, instant money. There you go. Get rid. I know they want value for him. I know you want value, but you know, I think there's more value in maybe lopping 5 million off what you could get for him and then reinvesting all the money in 3 or 4 new players. But we can't get these players in. We can't. I'm sure there's a hit list. There has to be a hit list. I'm sure Marty has got a hit list, but we can't get them in because the squad's so big. So Okoli goes. Harry Souttar's injured, so he's going to have to stay. Yannick Vestergaard, we shall see. Ben Nelson, Victor Christiansen. Again, why is he here? How is he still here? This is a Danish international. He's an international fullback linked with X, Y, and Z. Why is he still at the club with 12 days to go before the end of the transfer window? Luke Thomas, James Justin, fingers crossed his injury is not too bad. He might be out the door. We'll see. Ricardo Pereira, captain. Can somebody send out a police helicopter, please, and find Koulibaly? Where has he gone? Like, where is he gone? He's completely missing. Boubacar Samare, we know where he is, but he does go missing. He goes missing in games. Oliver Skip. I'd rather have a back of Skips really than Skips than Oliver Skip. I'd rather have a pack of Skips than Oliver Skip. They are. Harry Winks. We'll leave that for one side. Hamza Chowdhury, Sammy Braybrook. Everyone likes him. Okay. Is he ever going to play for Leicester? Don't know. Is he going to make it in the first team? Don't know. If not, he could go out on loan, but he might still fetch a few quid. Michael Golding, who apparently scored a couple of goals for the 21s. But yeah, that deal just seems to be a bit of a sweetener for Dewsbury Hall. Again, bit of money, can still be taken off the list. El Khann-snoozzze, Will Alves, Steffi Mavididi, Fatawu, Jordan Ayew, Decordova Reed, Casey McAteer, and then Wanya Marcel, Patson Daka. There are a lot of players there who are not really going to figure this season and shouldn't be figuring this season and should already be out of the door. There's too many players in that squad. So it's all very well as saying we need to bring players in. They need to get rid. And if they can't get rid of players, which we've seen over the years, we just can't bring anyone in, regardless of how much money you get for El Khann-snoozzze. With 12 days to go, James, Sam, and Jono, I want one thing from each of you. What's the one or two things that you want to see happen, not just in the transfer window, but maybe just on the field as well, in terms of selection, in terms of whatever? It can be completely bonkers. It's the big show. You can say what you like. James, the court is yours.
Just think in the question that Jono asked, where's Harry Suter? He's at the Oasis gig. That's where he is. But in terms of something, what I would like to see, I would like to see I think my main thing going into the season, I would like Rudkin to go, or some kind of change in the technical staff, because when we were talking about transfers, they should know what percentage of the money that the transfers are coming in they're allowed to spend. They should have a list of players that when the Hermanson money came in, for example, which is a big chunk of money, and Wilf's the 10 million for Wilf, they should have been able to go out and actually engage in transfers, knowing that of that 30 million, let's say they've only got 5 million to spend, they should have been working and thinking about in that basis. And it just feels like a lost summer. Don't really know what's been going on for the whole summer. And it's almost as if because we couldn't sack Rude until the end of June, they've just gone, oh, well, let's just start work on the 1st of July then. Just leave it. We'll be all right.
It's like a horror film, isn't it? It's like, you said it's a lost summer. It's like, I know what you did last summer, sod all. And I know what you did last summer, the summer before. And that didn't go down very well either. And then the summer before that, we're on the 4th sequel of the same horror film. Jono, what would you do?
Well, I would have done it a lot sooner than now, but I would like to see a massive shake-up. Rudkin moved aside, proper director of football brought in who knows football inside out. I don't know who that person would be. I want a shake-up of the recruitment team. I want Martin Glover to go. I don't think he's helped the club whatsoever. But again, these aren't things that I want to happen in the next week. I think these should have happened at the end of last season or even before. For things I want to see immediately for this season is a win against Charlton. I want to see a much better performance and see, Marty's philosophy seeing it a little bit more on the pitch. I want to see energy on the pitch. I want to see players putting a shift in. And if they're not prepared to do that, then I would be putting in the kids, frankly, until we've got players coming in that will be able to fulfill that what we need as from players on the pitch. I would like to see at least 3 signings before the end of the transfer window. And I'd like to see some of the deadwood out. I don't want to ever see Samari play for us ever again. That would be top of my list to get rid of. I desperately think, Winks again, I'm in 2 minds about, but he seems to be a bad egg. There's lots of history with him, right from the Enzo miss you sign through to walking off the pitch and various other episodes that we've seen from him. So I wouldn't be against him leaving. Well, Fuss probably can go. Coley, we could get some money for. So I think lots of outs and at least 3 ins is what I would like to see. And in the bigger picture, I want a shake up at board level. Rudkin to be moved aside. As I said, and a proper director of football and a proper strategy hopefully being put in place. And I think the fans would get behind that, having seen movement like that, to say, look, we're moving in a different direction now. And it will take some time, and I think the fans would get behind it. If we're saying, look, we've got a 2 or 3 year project ahead of us. But at the moment it's so stale, and we just need to get rid of that staleness.
Fight the power on the old Samari front, definitely. Yeah, I'm with you there. And in this world, Sam, of players, we've had players in the past. I mean, we've had players like Riyad Mahrez, obviously, who said there was agreement and he stayed, and then he wanted to go, and there was a little bit of, it didn't go down very well for a few weeks and months, did it? And then eventually he goes. I think that's kind of water under the bridge now. I think if he was to walk out at halftime at the KP, it would be fine. But of course, you've got things that are going on, like the Isak situation in the Premier League, which I think is terrible. I think it's awful. If you're paid that much money, how are you down in tools because a club hasn't offered 130 million? They've only offered 110. Violins out. Come on, do your job that you've been paid for. Doesn't matter what. I think gentlemen's agreements behind the scenes. I think if you're paid 200 grand a week, I think gentlemen's agreements don't really count, to be perfectly honest. But in this world of social media, where there's been a few mistuned kind of messages. I think Fatawa's didn't go down very well, but I kind of understood what he kind of meant. I'd quite like to see maybe a message from the players. And if the player wants to stay, I know it might sound a little trite, it might sound a little, oh, come on, just want to see them on the pitch and do the stuff. But if, let's say, Harry Winks does stay and he wants to stay and he wants to play, not end of the window and he couldn't get his move and I better do my job. But I want to just see a little post from him or a message from him to say, look, I'm here. I'm going to play, really go this season. Let's get promotion. I don't know. I would quite like to see that from those players if they are about to stay. Go on in, Sam. What's your what's on your hit list?
I mean, I'll give you one that won't happen and one that might. Echoing what Jono was saying, I think what I really want is transparency, a bit more transparency. I'm not asking for the club to open up the books and let us have a look, but it's just been radio silence, and it has been for years now, in this situation where we just as fans have no idea what the objective of the club is. Like all of the softball interviews the club does with Marty for the YouTube channel, all of them are, we're going to get the club back where we belong and promotion's the goal. But is it though? Is it actually? Because we're about to sell every one of our good players in one window, if rumors are to be believed. This is not the attitude of a club that's aiming for promotion. This is the attitude of a club that's desperate for money to avoid more points deductions. And if that's the case, I think just tell us. We'll understand. If Whelan or whoever comes out and says, look, we're in a tough bind at the minute, and we're going to have to reset, and it's going to be a rebuilding season, and we're going to bring some academy kids through, and we're going to try to get our foundations, and maybe this isn't the season, but this is the season that we build on for the next season. I think we'd understand that. And I think we have exciting academy kids coming through that we're all eager to see. I don't think that it would be this big pessimistic wave. I think we would, as fans, really welcome that. But as it is at the minute, we're hearing one thing with words and another thing with actions. And we really just have no idea how big a hole we're looking at with the PSR, right? Are we selling all our players just because we need the money, or are we selling players to reinvest? We have no clue. And it would just be nice to have a little bit more of what the plan is from the club, to hear that. I don't think it's going to happen. I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened a year ago or 2 years ago. We're still asking for an accountability of all of the horrible decisions that have gone, 2 relegations in 3 seasons. I mean, this last one, okay, I think we can kind of understand it, but the previous one I'm still angry about. I mean, that should just never, ever have happened. We've got so much deadwood, so many high earners on the books that we just cannot shift, and we're selling all the players that are actually good. Very frustrating to see. So that's what I would want to see.
Well, I want to see obviously the likes of El Khann-snoozzze to go and bring in money, etc. But what I want is, because the squad's so big, it's all very well saying a Coley I would ship off to AC Milan, say, and bring in 20 million, 15 million. But I want the other players to go, because if we do sell El Khann-snoozzze and we do sell Akoli, we still won't be able to bring in many players because the squad's so big. So why aren't we getting rid of the deadwood? Why hasn't the likes of Victor Christiansen gone? If we are going to go in with all those fullbacks, why isn't another one gone? Koulibaly, if he's going to play, why isn't Luke Thomas getting moved on? Why is Oliver Skip still there if he's not going to play? Why is Michael Golding still in the squad if he's not going to play or even make it at the club? We've turned down offers for Casey McAteer. Well, if that's the case, surely other clubs will want him. Now, if we don't need him in the squad, then he can bring in some money. But again, Patson Daka, Wanyama, there's lots of players in the squad who are probably not going to bring in a lot of money, but we can move on to make room for players to come in. At the moment, I fear that we're not even going to be able to bring in the right amount of loan signings. We might actually not be able to fill the quota that we can have up to. So that's my frustration. But I do have some breaking news from the world of Leicester and Leicestershire, really, rather than just Leicester, but some breaking, very exciting news here on the Big Show. Just received notification that my brand new electronic bed temper mattress is going to be delivered on Friday. Thank Christ. Here we go. It's an electronic one. So you go, I'm like the Undertaker in the morning, be able to sit up like, oh, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. The wife's going to be delighted as well. Breaking news, that's about 4 weeks early as well. So ignore the football. This is the big news breaking on the Big Show. Looking forward to that. For more big news on the Big Show, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. 2 for Fox 8. 4 great shows for you later on in the week with Rob Hayes. It's the preview. I'm sure some of us will be back on the preview with Rob, and maybe an angle from the Charlton camp as well. We've got the FPL show with Matt Elliott, who finished 186th in FPL out of 11 million. My God, who let him into the podcast? He's far too brainy for us lot. And then the Champion Show, which is going to be starting soon because we're going to be talking all things August and September in the Champions winning season of 2015-2016. But for now, however you've listened or watched the podcast, many thanks. Spread the word. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you do, because we've got some exciting competitions coming up, and you may need to be a subscriber on YouTube to be entered. Final word, because I know this isn't the preview, but we'll just have a little preview ourselves. One word: a win on Saturday against Charlton. James?
Draw.
Sam?
Draw.
Jono?
Sneaky win.
Sneaky win. I like sneaky win. Samari the hero. No, of course not. Don't be silly. No. Right, that's it. We've completely lost our minds. See you next time.